I added myself. Hey, folks, how you doing? Sorry, it's coming on a little late, but there was a lot of information and that I was trying to get into this podcast here. I want to talk about James Surdoval, a man that's recently come up in conversations with individuals as he was spotted at the meeting for the term limit extension, but I don't think he was there for term limits. I don't think though he may be a little bit, concerned of what's going to happen there as he represents or works for Ginsburg development. But he was really there for the meeting that was to take place after the chaos of the term limit vote was over. Mr. James Surdoval has been involved here in the city of Yonkers for about 3 decades or more, a long history here. And I want to talk about it because I've been recently talking about developments and pedophilia here in the city of Yonkers. And this has a little bit of both, or maybe a lot of both. James Surdoval there, you see him with the gray sweater, is considered an advisor, administrator, and 100% deal maker. Has worked with and advised several city mayors, including Zaleski, Spencer, and even the youngest mayor ever elected here in the city of Yonkers, Nicholas Wasisco. May he rest in peace. In a nutshell, James Surdoval is the original Zahi Jeris. That's right, a political operative maneuvering his way from one party to the next, from one candidate or politician to the next. Surdoval is a Yonkers native who some say has incredible survival skills, and he does. He's managed to survive politically, professionally, all these years, even with some of the criminal issue he's had. He's remained relevant in Yonkers, still doing what he has always been doing. Well, I hope not all that he's been doing in the past. Maybe that's because at the end of the day, and I quote, "At the end of the day, Jim knows a tremendous amount of stuff," according to longtime Democratic district leader and friend Andrew Beveridge. Anyone know Andrew Beveridge? Does the name sound familiar? Does it ring a bell? Andrew Beveridge has known James Surdoval since 1985. Mr. Beveridge, the man who was recently praised by our city council as they voted to award him a consulting contract to create the new district maps here in the city of Yonkers. He goes on to say that Surdoval is a political operative and a political consultant, and he knows Yonkers better than anybody. He understands the state. He understands how you get federal money. He understands everything about government, and people like him. People like him. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Well, we know Mr. Beveridge certainly likes him. Developers like Ginsburg certainly like him. That's probably why they hired him as a senior executive and a consultant. Actually, a consultant, but senior like exec. He has a lot of juice there. But it's not who he is that made they may like, but what he can do for people. He is known to get things done, 100% deal maker and a king maker. 2 years after meeting Andrew Beveridge and after working in Manhattan as an advertising firm, James Surdoval began campaigning for candidates here in the city of Yonkers. He started with city council members and then moved on to mayors. His first campaign was working on a young Democratic candidate who was running for mayor named Nicholas Wasisco. Nicholas Wasisco would go on to win, and he then made James Surdoval his number 2 man, helping him handle the desegregation case. So this man has been involved, very active here in Yonkers, and been involved in a lot of important matters that actually still impact us to this day, right? And so Nicholas Wasisco was the youngest mayor elected in the city of Yonkers. He's the guy that they did the Show Me a Hero, I don't know if it was like miniseries on HBO, the mayor that was involved in the desegregation case of the 80s, right? He is described as an exciting, James Surdoval described that time during the desegregation case as an exciting but troubling time as he organized or helped organize compliance with the court's orders, because the federal court ordered the city of Yonkers to comply with the desegregation. Otherwise, they would be fined like $1 million a day. He is in the trenches. He was and exposed. Being in the trenches, James Surdoval was exposed to a lot of the inner workings in politics, and this taught him a lot, on how to survive and maneuver through the political gamut, right? That we all know as politics. And his survival skills was the reason he decided to back Terry Zaleski after Nicholas Wasisco lost his reelection bid, and then he was going to run again. But James Surdoval saw the writing on the wall. He's a survivor, and he said, I'm going to go with his Democratic rival, Terrence Zaleski. And so he joined his campaign. And so when Zaleski won, Surdoval became his chief of staff. That didn't stop him, and then he eventually would fire him, right? And I'll tell you why in a minute. But that didn't stop him. He simply went to work for Zaleski's Republican rival, John Spencer, right? There's no loyalty in politics, right? This is the most disgusting business ever, I've come to learn. And it's just all about what people can get out of other people. That's what friendships are based on, right? So he went and supported John Spencer, and John Spencer won. For that, he was made director of the downtown waterfront development here in the city of Yonkers, which, according to the New York Times, was Yonkers' first attempt at gentrifying the waterfront area, right? They wanted to gentrify with parks, with a park, office space, and luxury apartments. Does that sound familiar? I wonder why, folks. He secured $75 million in state and federal grant money for the projects that they began building along the waterfront, right? Why can't they do that for our school district? When I heard that, I was thinking about it. I mean, I know they brag about this $25 million that they managed to squeeze out of the state once upon a time. I don't know how long ago that was, but no number like 75 million. And no one's championed for our schools ever since, right? Why don't they do that for our schools, right? Anyway, he once said he was like a gun for hire, working for either party, as the issues are the same, only the candidates change. So why has James Surdoval faded into the background and no longer working for the city of Yonkers? In 1999, Mr. Surdoval was suspended with pay from his job as the director of downtown waterfront redevelopment, aka gentrification of the downtown waterfront area, after his arrest, and he would eventually be fired after his conviction, which he pled guilty to 7 months later. The survivor that Mr. Surdoval is already had 3 consulting jobs before he was even fired, right? 3 developers already had hired him, right? So, and he knew these developers from having worked with the city, where he was making $107,000. Now, that was in 1999. Mr. Surdoval, a gay man who openly talked about being gay, was very open about it, and was also very open about his crime, which he said came about because of homophobia. But did it? You tell me. His crime was that that I have mentioned, was one that I have mentioned about recently, and that was having sex with a 14-year-old boy. Well, it started out when he was 14-year-old, the boy. A boy he met online in AOL chat rooms. This was discovered at, this whole, affair that he was having with this boy was discovered after police in Yonkers found the body of a 12-year-old boy that detectives would eventually trace back to a man named Robert D. Rosario, who, according to boys in the neighborhood, Robert D. Rosario would pay them or offer to pay them for sex. D. Rosario was also a frequent visitor of AOL chat rooms, at gay chat rooms. And that's how police started to trace other men. So when they went into these chat rooms, they started finding young boys, and then they started asking them, who are the men that you guys are talking to? And started leading them to a bunch of prominent individuals here in Westchester. One of them was James Surdoval, right? So, so once police started, speaking to these boys that were on these chat rooms, they discovered that James Surdoval was chatting with them as well. They were chatting with a bunch of different men, prominent men. Again, that led to other men, being arrested as well. They would arrange meetings with these boys that they would meet on the chat rooms, and they would meet and have sex with them. Boys as young as 14 or even 12 years old, like the boy that was found dead. So, over the course of the year-long investigation, 9 men were arrested, including Surdoval, who faced sodomy charges after he started meeting with the boy when he was only 14 years old. The boy had sex with all 9 of these men. All 9 of these men had sex with the same boy. And what's sad is that, when the parents discovered this, they sent the boy away to get sex treatment, right? And that's what they did. They really didn't, make a big fuss. It wasn't until the police really got involved, right? And very few received jail time. Many were prominent men like Nicholas Punner, planning board chair of the town of Newcastle, Patrick Murphy, former spokesman for PepsiCo, and he was also HIV positive. So he's having sex with boys and he's HIV positive. And so I started to think about, the woman that I spoke to who came on my show, who ended up in jail because she violated, a court order not to speak to her kids after her husband, who was a prominent attorney, got her jammed up utilizing his resources and friends because she threatened to out him for his, issues with pedophilia. And he admitted to it, that he had a problem with pedophilia. And so she made the mistake of telling him that she was going to out him before she, she put took necessary steps to protect herself. And the guy just went into action, utilizing his friends, lawyer friends, judges friends, police friends, and ended up getting her locked up and taken away from her kids. So there are many prominent individuals that have been involved in pedophilia rings. This is nothing unique or unusual, which is what's sad. You hear about these cases all over the country, and it's been happening for decades. I mean, there's even a case where boys were being flown to the White House during the first Bush's administration. That's a fact. They were being taken from a group home. So they were prominent men, and they get away with it because they have connections to law enforcement, right? James Surdoval here only spent 1 night in jail, and that was when he was first arrested. But why? Again, because they have connections to politicians, to judges, prosecutors, right? Was there a pedophile ring? I mean, there were 9 men that were arrested. 9 men, prominent men. One of them had HIV. Was there a ring? And is there still a ring in Westchester, right? Because I've been talking about this. There's still individuals running around Yonkers who have convictions for sexual misconduct with underage girls, had child pornography in their computers, yet and still our elected official engage in business with these individuals, allow them to come into areas where they're kids, like our schools, and say nothing about it. So, I mean, are these just all friends? Is that's why they get away with it? I mean, it's just crazy. It's sickening, that they do this, right? And then it also reminded me of all the kids that were being brought in from the border. They were being flown in to the Westchester County Airport in private jets. You guys ever heard about that? That didn't happen maybe about a year or so ago. Where did those kids go? But anyway, Mr. Surdoval managed to remain in the game. So even after being convicted, he pled guilty to this. He was caught having sex with a boy that, in a relationship that began when the boy was 14 years old. But he still managed to stay in the game professionally and politically. His knowledge, connections, and experience get the job done. So when developers like Ginsburg, right, developments wanted someone or needed someone to get the job done, they hired James Surdoval as a consultant, which he's currently doing now. Everyone around him seems to think that, it was just a simple lapse in judgment. And this is something I was reading, which kind of bothered me, right? All his friends around him, seem like, it's no big deal. He just made a simple mistake, he parked in the handicap spot, he didn't see the sign, right? That's how they, they're acting like it, including, and again, the guy in charge of redistricting Yonkers, Andrew Beveridge. And this guy's a real piece of work from what he said, this guy, Andrew Beveridge. He said, I think we are criminalizing something that is a mental problem. That's according to Andrew Beveridge. Really, a mental problem? It's like when I was at Trevor Park, right, and Rufus was there, right. So that when hearing what he was saying, reminded me of just how people think. Like I was at Trevor Park, I'm around people that work for the city. I'm telling them about this guy. I said, "Do you guys know that he pled guilty to sexual misconduct with an underage girl? He had child pornography in his computer." Disgusting stuff. If you read what was there in the video or whatever he had in his computer. I mean, do you guys care? And everybody there is just like, whatever, I don't care. I mean, whatever. We don't care. We're just here to just do our job. Just stay quiet and do your job. We don't care. No one cares that this guy is dangerous around kids, that he has this past, and that he should not be anywhere near a park, right? Luckily, there were no kids there, but definitely should not be paid by the city of Yonkers or any of our government, agencies or departments or whatever, or any level of government. But they still do, and they still utilize this guy. And our elected officials still sit with him for interviews. No problem, sitting right next to this guy for interviews, putting money in his pocket because they don't care. They really don't care. According to James Jacob, a sociologist and law professor at NYU, he is not surprised, right, that Surdoval has maintained his professional career, overcoming the stigma associated with his crime. The more social and professional resources you have, the more protection you have, right? The more chips you have in the bank or favors that are owed to you, right? The more likely that you are to get your life back. Even if you're convicted of a crime like having sex with an underage boy, a felony, doesn't matter, right? Jacob says it's funny, same guy says how it's funny how people can be more punitive yet forgiving for smaller things, less, not sleeping with little boys, right? So does this sound familiar? As I said in the beginning, James Surdoval is the original Zahi Jeris, a man convicted of a felony but still managed to keep his life on track, and his life is still as good as it's ever been. Now Surdoval is back in Yonkers, picking up where he left off, gentrifying the waterfront area of Yonkers, currently the Ludlow Park area, as a consultant for GDC, the Ginsburg Development Corp. He, along with another sexual predator, a man who was charged with taping himself having sex with women, were both hired by Ginsburg. And that's both the men right there that you see in that picture. And that's their, pleading their case on behalf of Ginsburg to do all the gentrifying that they're doing down in the Ludlow area. But recently they've scaled back. Why is that? Right? So Ginsburg, is currently developing in an area that's being redistricted. So, I started to think about this. You got this guy, James Surdoval, and Andrew Beveridge, good friends, go back to the 80s. One works for Ginsburg. The other one is hired by the city as a consultant to work on the redistricting of the city of Yonkers. A long-term Yonkers Democratic district leader, Andrew Beveridge, and a man that seems to think pedophilia is no big deal. That's right. He thinks it's no big deal. You got to hear what this guy says. Andrew Beveridge goes on to victim shame the boy, actually. And he was saying to Yonkers, to the New York Times, really, it was the boy's fault. I mean, he was sleeping around with a lot of guys. And he goes, from what I understand, the boy was pretty aggressive. Really? Victim shaming? Andrew Beveridge, and this is the individual that the city of Yonkers has hired to consult on the redistricting maps. A pedophile working for Ginsburg, along with Mr. Andrew Beveridge, who seems to think that pedophilia is okay. And why is Mr. Beveridge there? Again, he's part of, the good old boys club. These guys have been in Yonkers and in politics, operating here forever. 1985. So I wanted to talk about James Surdoval because he is currently involved with Ginsburg. He is a consultant there. He is, helping them with the whole development that's going on, there currently. Recently has been scaled back for, prohibited utilities underneath one of the towers, which some people are saying is BS. Many people are thinking that it has to do with the Mike Cater lawsuit that mentions the Ludlow Park redistricting proposal and all that. So he's working there along with the other guy, Andrew Mignili or whatever, who was videotaping himself having sex with women. And then they have their third partner, Mr. Andrew Beveridge, a good friend, longtime friend, who defends James Surdoval, victim shaming the 14-year-old boy, saying that he was pretty aggressive and he did sleep with all the men. How dare you say something like that? Is in charge of redistricting our city. The man is not an ethical man. Doesn't seem like he has a moral compass. Should we allow this man to redistrict our community, our city? And in whose interest is he working for? Whose interest is Mr. Andrew Beveridge truly working for? He's a longtime Democratic district leader. Currently, the Yonkers Democrats, aka Republicans, control, and I know this to Republicans, I don't want you guys, I'm just saying, control Yonkers, right? The mayor, city council, Democrats, and what have they been doing for the people in the city of Yonkers? Anyway, folks, what do you think? What do you think about this man operating here in the city of Yonkers? Suspended with pay. What a scam. Isn't that, some crazy stuff? Suspended with pay. Yet, Anthony DiMaggio, and I'm going to go back to that, was suspended without pay. And he did nothing, nowhere near, he didn't do anything actually, but definitely nothing to the extent of what this man did. But he was suspended with pay, this guy. Unbelievable, right? And they brought him back. They brought him back into the fold. Check out some of Manny Grossman's videos on YouTube about sex rings in Yonkers. Oh, interesting. Thank you. I'll take a look at that. I mean, I started to think about it, because I've heard about sex rings in other parts of the country, sex rings that involve prominent men, police officers, and they protect each other, judges, prosecutors, and they all defend and protect each other, cover for each other. And so as I was reading this, I was wondering, was there a sex ring going on? Is there a sex ring still now happening? I mean, very recently, I posted about boys that have gone missing here in the city of Yonkers, about 4 or 5 of them. They didn't really know where they went. And it's unbelievable. Anybody care about this? Manny seemed to think a lot of the child sex was connected to influential people in Yonkers and it was cult related. And I wouldn't be surprised. Folks, they used to tell us a lot of this stuff that, was conspiracy theory stuff, and not to get too sidetracked, right? Because I don't want to do that. But the reality is that a lot of this stuff, is not conspiracy theory stuff. And it's just so many stories of prominent individuals, involved in sexual, sex rings, pedophile rings, human trafficking, and also involved in the occult. And more people are talking about it. And, and again, I don't want to get sidetracked because I can go on about that for days. If you guys are interested, let me know, because I will talk about things like Anne Hesh, right? Hesh. Did you guys see what happened to the actress? Her car was just flying down some street. It went into a house and caught fire. Supposedly she was badly burned and she was unconscious or unresponsive when, first responders got to her. But as they're, racing her to the ambulance, they had on, what is it, a gurney? Is that what it's called? They're racing her to the ambulance to put her in the back of the bus, as they say, the ambulance. She pops up, like she pulls the bag or whatever she had over her, and she's trying to unstrap herself. And the fireman pushes her back down and they shove her into the ambulance. And this is caught on live TV. So then they went on to say that although she was badly burned, she was expected to survive. This was on all the news, major news outlets, that she was going to survive. But yet and still she died. And then they said that she never regained consciousness. But that was a lie. And so the point of it is that Anne Hesh was working on a movie that was discussing child sex trafficking rings. And it involved prominent people in Hollywood and in politics. So I would not be surprised if this is happening here in Yonkers, and it also involved the occult. I mean, you'd have to be evil to do something like this, right? And so, folks, I mean, if you go back into history and you read about it, I mean, there were groups of people that believed in, black magic and cult and drinking the blood of young children. I mean, they did that. Who's to say that hasn't stopped, right? I mean, you can still go to certain parts of the world and still find people living, indigenous people still living like, centuries ago, right? They don't have anything modern. So who's to say that has not still stayed with certain people, even though we're here in 2020? But it's very real. It's a real thing. And if you guys are interested, I would definitely do podcasts about it. But I just wanted to mention that whole Anne Heche thing and other actors who have suddenly died, committed suicide. And one thing that they had in common was that they were starting to talk about or doing some kind of documentary or movie about child sex rings, specifically in Hollywood. And so is that going on here in Yonkers among prominent individuals? It appeared that it might have been back when James Surdoval was involved. Is he still involved? I mean, did those guys ever really stop that stuff? The city of Yonkers is a disgrace. Yeah, and that's why not the city, it's the people running the city, right? Let's not say that. Let's say our city is great. It's just under control by individuals that are maybe a disgrace, right? And what they're doing to the city is a disgrace. And the individuals they allowed to operate in the city are a disgrace. And they should be ashamed of themselves for allowing individuals to operate here like that. I mean, this guy here was meeting up with boys, and he just got caught that once. Because remember, folks, just because they have that one doesn't mean that's the only time. It's just that one time they got caught. And in the case of Ruro's, Yonkers voice, and I'll say it because I have no problem saying it, that man has other victims. He has other victims. They just never came forward. And so that is why I will continue to put it out there. You started with me. I looked into you. I found some things I didn't like and that people should know about. Now I'm going to blast you, Rui. Now I'm going to blast you. And you can pay all the people you want to say whatever you want about me, Rui, but ultimately your reign is going to come to an end. I promise you that. That's one thing. I promise you. That's what I meant, the politician. Yeah, I know. I'm just, I'm sure you, and that's what you meant. But yeah, and I just like, because words are very powerful. So I like to just, say things a certain way to, I've learned to try to be positive, I don't know if you guys ever read about The Secret, the whole Oprah Winfrey thing. I believe in that. The universe will give you what you ask for. You just have to believe it. Believe it. And I believe it. I believe that we are going to be successful this coming election. I believe it. And I want you guys to believe it with me. And we have to make some changes here in the city of Yonkers. That doesn't mean that we're not going to move forward and make progress. Mike Spano is not our only one savior. That is not the only solution to fixing Yonkers and making Yonkers better, right? And no one should be in politics and office for that long. And ultimately, that creates problems. The man has developed a lot of relationships. He's positioned people in the right places to make it nearly impossible to defeat him in the coming election. So hopefully the lawsuit on the term limits will be successful. You got the Mike Cater lawsuit. I'm sure there's other things coming down the pipeline. And more that we talk about this stuff, the more and more it will spread, the more and more people will be informed. Hopefully that will be the catalyst for the change that we need, that we seek, and that we deserve here in the city of Yonkers. Because these individuals, like it said in the New York Times, James Surdoval was gentrifying the downtown area back when he worked for the city of Yonkers in the downtown waterfront redevelopment, whatever that's called, agency. Now he's doing that, but on a private sector, right? Working for the developers, not for the city, but still pushing to gentrify the waterfront area. Luxury developments, luxury apartments, that's not necessary, for the people here. It's not. It's really not. It's truly not for the people here, and so they're looking to change the demographic. They're pushing people out. It's a fact. It's a fact. They're getting rid of people. Now they're finally, renovating Trevor Park after all these years. Why? Because they're going to be developing. Xtel is bringing a lot of buildings there. Joe Carter is doing a lot of developments near Trevor Park. Layla Gorin, she's going to be doing some things over there at the power plant. And I've been hearing about luxury townhomes where the JFK Marina is now located. So is that why they're building another waterfront park over down at the Ludlow area? All right, so we can at least have one, because they're going to put, townhomes there. Townhomes at the JFK Marina. They already put the gate there, right? So they're gentrifying our community. They're gentrifying the downtown area. And we think of gentrifying as pushing out, a certain group of race of people, right? But, we have to look at it in different terms now. Gentrifying nowadays is like pushing out a class of people. right? So it doesn't matter what color you are. You know, if you cannot afford to live there, you're out of here. We don't want you. We don't want those that need assistance. We don't want those that cannot pay for the luxury developments. We don't want those that cannot go to the Starbucks and order the extra grande lattes, you know, and walk with their, you know, $1,200 poodles. Why do you think they're building all them dog parks? I mean, it's for the city folks, right? They always have a bunch of dogs in their apartments. And so, you know, this guy's still working with Ginsburg, Empire Strategic Planning, AMS, you know, Extel, the Layla Gorin Group, to ultimately gentrify the downtown area. That's what's happening. And they don't care who they utilize, these developers. They don't care if the guy's a pedophile, convicted felon, a murderer. They don't care, as long as they can get the job done. And they are getting the job done. They're moving fast. But anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. Oh, 31 minutes. I just wanted to give you a little biography of our guy here, James Surdoval. And so, you know, for those who really are paying attention to this, you know, specifically with the redistricting here and that gentleman, Andrew Beveridge, you see the connection. James Surdoval, good friends. I mean, going back to 1985, Andrew Beveridge and James Surdoval, good friends. One works for the developers, one is working for the city. What are they doing together? I'm sure it's nothing for the people of Yonkers, right? It's all for the developers. They're redistricting that area. So how are they doing? I don't know. And so, you know, I just wanted to point that out. Folks, anything else? I'm up out of here. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. It's 9:48, folks. And again, I went to, you know, Ruro's house. At Ruro's, if you're out there, I brought your source to see you. I wanted to straighten it out. Brian, I brought your source to see you, you know, to try and straighten it out. But you guys didn't want to come out. The police did call me. Brian Harrod called the cops. I told them what happened. They were like, all right, you know, just don't go back to us. I said, I'm not officer. Don't worry. I made my point. My point was that these are lying sacks of you know what. And they're lying and their nasty piece of ish ways, their desperate need for money, these low-life losers have caused me true problems, big problems. I'm an individual that tries to avoid problems like that. I don't want CPS cases. I don't deserve them. I do not deserve them at all, right? And I have two now because of these pieces of craps. And I wanted people to see that these are liars, that they will go out to these extreme lengths to do this to me. But it's not just them. Ruros didn't get that $300 out of his pocket. And we certainly know that it wasn't Brian Harrod that got that $300 out of their pocket. So who is it that gave these individuals the money to pay these people to make up these lies about me? Right. And so I wanted people to see that. And I appreciate all the people that have been supporting me because, you know, people are telling me that when he posts these things on his page, there are people that are commenting in support of me. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I'm here for the people. I'm here for you guys. So, you know, I appreciate the support. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. If you're interested, I'm going to post up the New York Times article that talks all about stuff that I read there. There's more information there if you want to go through it and get, you know, get some more stuff. Anything else? Oh, did I talk about this already? Did you guys hear about Deanna Robinson running for District 1? And did you guys notice that the guy that was pulled out from the meeting at the, you know, with Hector Santiago with the gray sweatsuit was at the Trevor Park, you know, ceremonial thing with the, you had a shovel and everything? Interesting. I heard the individual today was also hanging out with, I don't know if he was hanging out with, or he was with police officers over at Zupta's or something like that. You know, what's going on there? That's very strange. That individual was also working as a consultant. There's a lot of consultants out here in Yonkers, right? As a consultant to get people on board with Layla Gorin's development plans for the power plant. They were going around, and other individuals going around, you know, reaching out to the people of the community to get them to support them. And they were being paid for this. They were being paid to canvas, but they were being paid with some grant money. And when the grant money ran out, they stopped paying them. Some of them didn't get paid, and the whole, you know, canvassing of the area of the Woodworth, Warburn, Ravine, all that area stopped. You know, Layla Gorin, she went and got a bunch of, you know, black individuals from the city to relate to black people. Hey, black people, go talk to black people and convince them about this great project. So me, the white lady, can make a lot of money and do nothing for you guys. Nothing, right? So that's what happened there. It's very interesting how all that is connected. It's a lot of connections there, but I'm not going to get into all that right now. It's just too much. But it's very strange. It's very interesting. What is going on over there? What is happening? Hey, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm up out of here. Oh, by the way, James Surdoval was also responsible for creating a strong mayor here in the city of Yonkers. I didn't mention that, and I should have mentioned that. Mayor Span, yeah, I should. Let me see. Well, I'll talk about that. But yeah, that's in the thing. You could go and read it. But I just thought that was interesting. Because of him, we have a strong mayor. Let's see if I can read that here. I think that's... I'm not going to look it up. Anyway, folks, I'm up out of here. I don't want to look it up. But yeah, he's responsible for that. I'll put up the article on the podcast. You can check it out. Anyway, I'm up out of here. Anything else on my page here that I didn't show you that I wanted to show you? So this is the guy here. Yonkers big charging sex assault on boy 15. So that's the article there from the New York Post. It's unbelievable. What the hell is going on here? And it's crazy how the one guy from PepsiCo, Patrick Murphy, was HIV positive. That's unbelievable. Unlicensed teen. Remember the BMW guy? Checking that out. So again, here, really quick. I just thought this to be interesting. This is the guy that was pulled out with Hector Santiago. I don't know what's, and so I just thought that was interesting that he was there with the ceremony thing. I know, again, that he was working with the Layla Gorin group. I know he's has some relationship with the Deanna Robinson, who I hear may be running for District 1, as Shanae Williams here may be running against Christopher Johnson. They want Johnson out. The Spanos don't like Johnson. They supported him for county just to get him out of the city. Now they want him finished because they know that Chris is, he's got some plans. People want change, and so they're concerned with that. Mount Vernon is closing down his shelter. I don't know if you care about that. What's going on there, man? What's going to happen with all the puppies? Huh? Ex-deputy mayor admits taping sex with Clarkstown woman. This is Andrew Magniglia. He's the guy that also is a consultant with Ginsburg. He's the second guy in that picture that I just showed you. Yeah, I don't know what is it with this Ginsburg. As long as they get the job done. Here, these two guys right here, right, coming to gentrify the city of Yonkers. Are they going to bring some of their buddies from their pedophile ring? I hope not. I hope not. Anyway, folks, Yonkers official argue over how strong a strong mayor should be. That's interesting. I'll post that up. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm up out of here. Have a beautiful and blessed evening, rest of the evening. It's going to be 10 o'clock. Peace out. Anybody watching this, the Clarkstown issue with the term limits? Check that out. These elected officials they don't care. They just want to take it all. They just want all the power. All the power.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
Anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Shatika Parker definitely running for District 1. She's announced. Prince Robinson is running for mayor. He announced 2 years ago. Watch as we learn how Brian Harrod, porn store stiff and slur campaigner for the Reyes regime writes false articles. So Yonkers Voice, Ruros, he's saying it right here, that Brian Harrod writes false articles, but now he's sharing his articles about me. Isn't that funny? They all turn on each other, these snakes. Can't trust them. We learned of potential deals made with Brian Harrod, owner of ABM Maintenance, and the Reyes campaign promises. It is possible that London Reyes promised porn stiff Harrod deals to clean city building. Does the corruption begins? He is even elected? This guy cannot write. We have true testimony from a once fearful Delphine Husler who was afraid but took a stand and would be bullied no more. Look at these fucking stupid Sorry, folks, I gotta say it in the most vulgar way because I have to. These dumb fucking pieces of you stupid, unintelligent. I swear to you're lucky. You're so lucky, Ruros and Brian. You're very lucky. You're lucky, man. You're so lucky, and you're so stupid, the both of you. You're bottom feeders. Look at this bottom feeder pedophile. I'm sorry. Bottom feeder pedophile. Look at him. Look at him. You lying sack of shit. You put it on your mother and your father and your children and all that you weren't lying, you lying sack of shit. You are a pedophile. You piece of shit. Yo, I'm sorry, folks. Because of this piece of shit and others, I have 2 CPS cases. I can't wait to meet with my attorney tomorrow because we're going to get it cracking tomorrow, you piece of shit pedophile. May you choke on your own saliva.
Freddy wins.
God's got it. God's got something for you.
Freddy wins.
Shout out to the Yonkers police. Guys, listen up. Tell Ruros to get up out of your face. He is impeding on your investigation or something. Put that guy in handcuffs. He's a child toucher.
Freddy wins.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you to all the wonderful police officers out there. I know when they call you, you recognize their voice right away, right? Especially Ruros. He don't know how to speak English. And then you got Brian, right? He sounds like a creepo. And so they call, and you're just like, all right, these 2 dummies again.
Freddy
They're hoping you get beat up, Ruros. They're not going to protect you. Ruros almost got beat up on Elm Street not too long ago. The cops was not even moving a muscle to protect this guy at all.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
One day you are going to get your ass kicked, Ruros, for the things that you say and do. It's coming. It is coming. I'm not saying that I'm going to do it. I never said that. But someone will, because you are pissing a lot of people off for no reason. Talking about their family members.
Freddy.
Somebody's going to beat the shit out of you, Ruros.
Fatality.
And when that day comes, I'm going to be there to report it live on Basement Politics. I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm tired of that guy. I'm tired of this guy. You're done, Ruros.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I want.
In another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
Wait, where's he at? Where's he at? Right here.
In another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much. In another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I want.
Oh, man.
I know you have a lot of women that work in your office.
But I am the bad guy. But I am the bad guy.
You are the bad guy. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered,
I am
folks.
the bad guy.
Please, we must come out to vote this year. Please. Come out and vote. Democrats, June primaries. Come out and vote. If you're not registered, make sure you register. We must come out and vote. Vote, vote, vote. I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm up out of here. Peace out.